Today we are taking on the old tougher times versus safer spaces debate. Tougher times is a white item which grants a 15% chance of negating incoming damage and increases this percentage for every stack that you have. This item is extremely useful because it can block any instance of damage and it is re-rolled for every occurrence. So fall damage, tick damage, just straight up getting hit. And if it does fire off, you will notice that a little blocked message will appear instead of the regular damage numbers that you'd typically take from an attack or fall. Unfortunately, Tougher Times is one of the rare chance-based items that is not affected by luck, so that means the good old 57-leaf clover doesn't synergize with it. On the other hand, Safer Spaces is the void variant of this item and is a pretty cool looking little tardigrade dude. I mean, I'm a fan of the teddy bear, but this guy is a definitely step up in the aesthetics department. As for the ability for this one, instead of providing a % chance to block incoming damage, what it does is it creates this protective little purple orb which will offer a guaranteed block of 1 instance of incoming damage. This orb then breaks and will recharge after 15 seconds. And if you have more stacks of this item, that recharge period becomes less and less. This is particularly useful on characters who don't have fall cancels, and also for cheesing blood shrines and void cradles, which will typically take your health. Instead, if you wait, you can just use this and not take any damage, but get all of the benefits. And lastly, just like every other void item, Safer Spaces will corrupt any and all Tougher Times that are currently in your inventory or that you pick up afterwards. Now that we know a little bit about what each of these items does, which one is better? As a general rule of thumb, I would recommend picking up Safer Spaces if you plan on fighting Mithrix after stage 5, so you're going directly to the final boss, and keeping Tougher Times if you plan on doing extended looped runs. I say this because the guaranteed block effect is just much more valuable early on in the game, especially since there's only a 15% chance of a block with 1 stack of Tougher Times. And this just is so versatile in using blood shrines or void cradles or negating fall damage, as well as preventing death from the most heavy hitting enemies and bosses. On the other hand, as you loop and continue to play on and the hordes of enemies get bigger and stronger and you encounter more elite enemies, Tougher Times value shines through in the fact that it can negate multiple instances of burst damage as well as status effects and other things that are typically more likely to kill you later on in your run, such as fire damage or any of the other elemental tick effects. As always, there are a couple of exceptions to the rule, and exception numero uno is if you are playing as Rex. If you're playing as the plant bot and you are using his purple abilities, which you should be because they're better, then you definitely want to keep Tougher Times, as these abilities will cause self-damage and bust the Safer Spaces bubble protection, so it's better to keep Tougher Times and have a chance to successively block the self-damage attacks when playing as Rex. Exception numero dos is if you have the Blast Shower equipment, which actually on use will instantly replenish the Safer Spaces charge. So if you have Blast Shower, and especially if you have Blast Shower and a couple of fuel cells, then it's better off taking Safer Spaces even if you are looping, because you can just get that instant refresh if you use your equipment. Exception numero tres, if you have absolutely bonkers amounts of Tougher Times, I'm talking 67 or more, then you definitely want to corrupt to Safer Spaces because at a 67 stack, the safer spaces refresh rate is one single frame, so you are basically invincible. However, beware. This is a special grade exception here. This also applies to Mithrix and his stage 4 when he steals all your items. So, if you are planning on doing some real long run and then fighting Mithrix at the end, you've been warned. Because this is what happens when an unstoppable force meets an immovable object, and then the immovable object just steals all your shit.